You're listening to your host and psychotherapist, Rhonda Spaziani, on Spaz on Mental Health on greeninkradio.com.
Are you listening? He just repeated the words that came out of her mouth. Now they're listening.
Hi, this is Rhonda, and today's episode is how to get a narc off your scent of the Scary Sibs series. We've talked in the last few episodes about how to identify if you're in a relationship with someone with narcissistic personality disorder or NPD. What are the do you have siblings? Do you have a boss? Do you have a parent? Do you have a stepchild, a stepparent, a coworker, a friend, a child, a spouse, or a significant other that demonstrates all the symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder? And those are on the previous episode. So if you're not quite sure if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, I strongly recommend you listen to the other episodes and find out. So today we're specifically talking about, now you've identified you're in a relationship with someone with NPD, or we'll call him a narc, just because I like kind of that sound of that. And what do you do? We've gone over some broad strategies in the previous episodes, but I like to distill it down to a very specific strategy, one strategy today, and that is called gray rocking. And you may have heard of this, and if you haven't, don't worry about it because we're going to talk a little bit about it. So gray rocking has its pros and cons. It has its benefits and its perils, and we're going to talk about both in just a minute. What it is that narcissists or people even with borderline personality disorder or sociopaths, they love, or antisocial personality disorder, often they love, or histrionic personality disorder. The personality disorders overall, for the most part, love a lot of drama, chaos, havoc, just unhappiness. And so what gray rocking does is it kind of precludes them from getting that supply from you. And that's why they call it narcissistic supply. Because narcissists need a ton of attention, specifically narcissists, but people with borderline personality disorder as well. And so sometimes do sociopaths. They like a lot of attention, be it positive or negative. Go figure. Most of us don't want the negative attention. We just want the positive. But any type of attention feeds a narcissist's ego. So what you're doing is you're depriving them of their drama, of their supply. And when you gray rock, you have to be prepared for them to go and get supply elsewhere. So if you're in a romantic relationship with them, but you're still really deep in your heart looking for love and affection and approval from them, gray rocking probably is not your best approach. Gray rocking is more for people that have to remain in these relationships. Either you're co-parenting children, but you're apart, you have siblings that you kind of have to see at holidays, or parents that you're not ready to fully disengage from, but you just want to limit contact, but you do have to have contact, or they're your children or your stepchildren, or your step-parents, and in order to make your parent happy, you have to stay in contact, even limited, with the step-parent. Whatever it is, co-workers, superiors at work, and I'd say superiors, supervisors. I say that superiors very lightly. So we sometimes in our lives have to stay in these relationships against our better judgment. And so when we have to, because life prevails, and we need to figure out how can we manage this, gray rocking may be a strategy that's going to work for you. If you're still in love with your significant other, if you're still really desperately seeking approval from your scary sibs or your parents, gray rocking isn't really going to be to your best advantage because you're still in it. You're not ready to gray rock. Let me tell you a little bit more about gray rocking. What you want to do is to become as bland and as uninteresting as a gray rock in the environment. So like every day we walk around, we probably see hundreds or thousands of gray rocks, and we don't pay any attention to them. This is what a gray rock strategy does, is that you are making yourself virtually invisible to the abuser. And how do you do that? Is that you want to become very, very unengaging. You don't say yes or no's, because yes or no's can elicit like an emotional and a dramatic response. So you might say, okay, just very vague, non-committal, try to make as little eye contact, like if you're at work and a colleague comes in and disrupts you at your desk. Maybe you'll just keep on working at your project and just nod your head and go, okay, all right, whatever. Just not engaging. If they come in and they want to bash people or complain about a project or whatever it is, you can just stay non-committal. Don't engage, don't endorse, don't negate. Just be distracted. That's a very good strategy for gray rocking. And you want to become actually the most boring and uninteresting of person that you possibly can be, because they're going to try to manipulate you to elicit some drama. And the duller and the more boring you become, the more you don't allow them to manipulate and control you. And that makes them crazy. So you have to be careful too, because in behavioral modification with children, we warn about extinction bursts. So as you change behavior, you don't recognize a child is tantruming, and you ignore the tantrum instead of yelling at them or pacifying them, and you just ignore them. After a while, the child will elevate that tantrum before the behavior stops, because now what they used to get response from you, now that isn't getting a response from you, so now they have to up their game, and so they get louder, more dramatic, maybe more kicking and screaming and tantruming. Well, the same is true from a narc. They're going to, if they've always manipulated, controlled, and abused you, they're going to get nastier. They're going to push your buttons more. You're going to have to put on a Teflon shield. So actually, in essence, you're playing possum. You're a human gray rock possum to the narcissist. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. So that's one of the cons, is that narcissists know how to be really incredibly cruel and go for the jugular. They know what hurts. And they're vicious. Remember? They're sharks. Remember? Sharks. So if they smell blood in the water, they're coming for you. So you have to just put your Teflon shield on, disassociate even. I don't mean fully disassociate, but just distract yourself and let those insults and comments not be personal. Don't personalize them. Don't ingest them, because know that that's their strategy. And if it's not you, it's going to be somebody else they're going to be attacking. When you're communicating with the narcissist, you want to make sure that you keep your communications as brief as possible. Try not to respond emotionally, and just keep them, if you're co-parenting and you have to respond about pickup times, etc., just be very clear, very brief, disconnected as much as possible. So difficult, I know, but you can do it. And so you don't want to let the manipulator see you, right? That's the whole goal, is that you become invisible and they lose interest in you. But remember, if you're in a romantic relationship with them and you're hoping this is going to turn them around, it's not. It's going to send them to somebody else, because you're no longer their supply. So take that into consideration when you make the decision to gray rock. But if you're needing to just manage your life and get along with these people as little as possible, with as little drama as possible, gray rocking does have its benefits. But that being said, if you need to become, because a lot of times narcissists want you to be a trophy wife or husband or child, and if you need to become a little more unattractive, a little more bland, a little more, you don't do your hair and your makeup and etc., or work out as much, just so that you can become more invisible, that will send them even quicker to other supply. And the problem is, it may start impacting your own feelings of self-identity and self-worth. And if you've grown up with scary Sibs or a narcissist parent, or been in this relationship, this narcissist abusive relationship for a while, you're already probably struggling with speaking out, holding the line, communication, forthright, establishing strong boundaries, feeling good about yourself. And that's another kind of challenge about this gray rocking, is that it can feed into that feeling of self-worth and less than feeling. So make sure that you process this with somebody. I always recommend a therapist. Please, you'll need some help, particularly if you're doing a gray rock strategy. Friends at least, but don't ever share this strategy that you're doing this with the narcissistic abuser, because they will turn on you and they will really ramp up the game. So please don't ever share with them that this is a strategy you're actually implementing. That defeats the whole purpose. Because now, once again, they're the center of attention and you're having to implement a strategy because of them. Instead of that, you've lost interest and they're no longer interesting. And so I ask that you continue to honor and self-care and do self-care for yourself. Make sure you see a therapist, at least have supportive friends and other family members that aren't going to, that aren't the flying monkeys and aren't going to go squeal on you to the abuser. And although it may seem really tempting to really get into this role, try not to overdo it for your own self-image, but distract yourself. So as the narcissist is berating you or trying to engage you or trying to stir you up, or the person with borderline personality disorder or whoever it is, just try to distract yourself. Maybe focus on something you're working on. Think of other things. Maybe say a mantra inside your head just so that you can keep yourself still and in a place of calm and not engage. So important. Gray rocking is not something we really want to do long term. It's more of a short-term strategy because it can really wear on you. I always recommend whenever you can, get away. Get out of the relationship whenever feasible. See a therapist, get away, end the relationship, get distance, limit your interactions with them as much as possible. The gray rock does get them off your scent if that's what you want. And remember, as always, it's not you. It's your scary Sib. Thank you so much for listening to this episode on Green Ink Radio. And this episode, as all are, is sponsored by Green Ink Marketing Communications. You can find them at greenink.us.com. They bring your stories to life. Thanks, and see you next time.
Music provided by Immunuri. Check them out at imunuri.com. Thanks for listening to Spaz on Mental Health. Tune into greeninkradio.com to listen to other great shows hosted by a collective of imperfect gurus. greeninkradio.com, an experience for the curious mind.